Welcome back, everyone, to OpenLine. Continuing our discussion about the eviction moratorium, which has really been lifted all across Tennessee. What is happening with evictions in our state now? In the first half of this show, we had 3 guests on talking primarily about Davidson County. Now we're going to expand it, and I'll welcome in 3 new guests. We have Zach Oswald. He is with the Legal Aid Society. We have Cynthia Peruza. She's with the Tennessee Housing Development Agency, Peraza, and we just had a caller who asked something, and I'll go to you next, Cynthia. And then Jennifer Prusak. She is director of Vanderbilt Housing Law Clinic. All right, so our last caller said he's gotten an eviction notice for next few weeks. He's being evicted. He's missed work a little bit because of COVID. What should he do? And I'll start with you, Cynthia. What should he do? He's in Wilson County.
Thank you, Ben. So what we're going to want him to do, or her to do, is to reach out to us through our email, and I'll provide you with some helpful information here. So THDA, we administer the COVID rent relief program for the state of Tennessee in all counties except for Davidson, Shelby, Rutherford, and Knox. So any tenant in need, or even landlords that identify tenants who need help or support with their rent, can reach out to us either through our website. That's going to be the easiest and fastest way to access the application. Our application's available at www.thdA.org/COVID rent relief, all one word, no spaces. And as soon as they land on that website, they'll see a big red button that reads "Click here for rent relief application." And they would go ahead and start filling out their application as soon as they click on that button. Now, if they need assistance with the application, all they have to do is dial our call center. They're available at 844-500-1122. And the call center could provide the tenants or landlords with step-by-step instructions on how to complete that application. Their hours are 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. Monday through Saturday, and that's Central Time. They're not open right now, so this would be a good time to call them, but they can get immediate assistance as soon as they pick up the phone and dial or submit that application. Now, in the event that someone already has an eviction notice, we do recommend they reach out to us via email, if not through phone, so that they could get immediate assistance. And they could reach out to us at the COVID rent relief at thdA.org. That's a simple one-line email that they could just forward us. They will be required to apply. We recognize that some people not everyone has access to a computer or the internet, so if they need immediate assistance, they can also walk into one of the legal aid offices across the state. We are partnering with them at this time to help provide free legal support to anyone who needs help. And our program, similar to the other counties, does offer up to 15 months worth of rent relief assistance, and that includes the delinquent rent payments, future rent payments, assistance with relocation costs, or if their utilities are behind. But I want to point out, it's important for people to know that they don't have to be delinquent to access rent relief assistance. So that's an important note that I know may differ a little bit from how the other counties are administering or structuring their program.
Interesting. Okay, we have a bunch of calls. So before I go to the other two of you, why don't we try and take a couple of calls, and you can answer some of these questions. Let's go to Brent. Hello, Brent.
Hello?
Go right ahead. What's on your mind, Brent?
What's on my mind is I am on the opposite side of this coin. The people that I live in the complex in Rivergate, and these people are going to court, and they are, of course, the court says that before they even see the judge, somebody stands up and tells them they can apply for this money. However, the landlord does not have to take that money, and these people are doing drugs, living in this complex that haven't paid in 9-10 months, and they spend all their stimulus money on drugs. They're working full time, and it's frustrating for the owner of the building to have to put up with all this. Now, we've got a lady that goes around here and tells everybody that they don't have to pay their rent, and then when they go to court, they can apply for that money, and it'll pay for another year. Well, they don't realize that the 9 months they didn't pay has to be paid. So they think they're safe for a year, and you just would not believe how bad it is out here with these tenants.
Brent, I'm so glad you called, because I know that there are a lot of people that feel that way, landlords. Jennifer, why don't you take that? You were going to talk about responsibilities for tenants and for landlords, and here's a landlord saying, help, I need help. What about what he's saying there?
Brent, are you a landlord or are you a resident of the building?
He's gone. Let's say he's a landlord.
Oh, okay.
I cut him off. So he's,
okay.
I think he's a landlord.
Okay, that's fine. So the thing is, let's see, I'm trying to think so tenants, let me see how to sort of frame this. So tenants are responsible for the rent that they agreed to pay when they signed the lease. Even if they don't have a written lease, if it's an oral lease, month-to-month lease, they are contractually bound by that. And so the moratorium and all of the aid money that's coming out does not take that away. Tenants are still responsible for the rent. What the program Cynthia is talking about is it's helping people get caught up, and it's money that will go directly to the landlords. So the goal is to make landlords whole, to allow tenants to stay in their units. But if a tenant is not paying rent and has no intention of paying the rent and is engaging in a lot of illegal activity on the premises, there's nothing in any of the laws that exist now or that have ever existed that will allow people engaging in actual criminal activity on the premises to stay housed indefinitely. There's just nothing in any of the laws that have been passed that will allow that.
So he still has rights. I mean, does somebody else want to take this too? He still has rights. He's saying they're not working and they're doing drugs all the time, and I'm tired of them being there. I mean, I don't know, but let's just say that's true, and so they're doing drugs. Can he still evict them?
Cynthia, would you want to take this on the rent relief side, and I can talk about the behavior afterwards?
Thank you. I was going to just add 2 points. Unlike the other counties' emergency rental assistance program, THDA does pay the landlord directly. All of the support and assistance goes directly to the landlord. Now, keep in mind, we are focused. Our goal of the program is to help people stay housed and prevent homelessness. But if the tenant is not meeting certain criteria that they've agreed to meet within the lease or in whatever documentation they may have, an agreement they may have with the landlord can still move forward with the eviction. That has nothing to do with our rent payment. Our rent payment's helping the person stay whole so that the landlord, that's not one of the reasons that they're being evicted. If they're being evicted for a different cause, then that's not something that we could participate in.
And Zach Oswald, what did you want to add? Legal Aid Society?
Cynthia covered exactly what I was going to say at the end, is the rent relief programs are meant to make landlords and tenants whole when they have not been able to pay rent because of COVID-related issues that have caused them to get behind. But in no other fashion are tenants allowed to stay and break the material terms of the lease. That means that they're not allowed to do drugs on the property. They're not allowed to be hurting people on the property. Those rules don't go out the window just because your rent is paid up, and those rules don't go out the window just because these rent relief programs are out there to help the people who have been struggling with rent during the pandemic for the last 18 months.
Zach, I have a quick question. Something we heard was happening when the moratorium was in effect was that landlords who wanted to get certain tenants out would say, well, this tenant is breaking this rule or that rule. Could have said something like what Brent said, though I don't have any reason to doubt what Brent said, just to get people kicked out. And so how much proof do you have to have? And did you see that? That could go both ways. You know what I mean? So what about the protections for tenants should that happen? Should a landlord just want to get somebody out, but they were trying to get around that moratorium? Did you see that? And what about that aspect of it all?
There's always a little bit to each side of the story when we're talking about landlord-tenant situations. And what I would say is that the ultimate place to have that battle out is within our court system, where we've determined that there's a preponderance of the evidence standard that the landlord, if they're trying to evict a tenant, needs to come in and they need to prove beyond, it's more true than it's not true, that this situation is going in. So if you're a tenant in a situation where you say, my landlord is trying to evict me and they're using false pretenses, that's the time for you to find legal representation, to speak with somebody, and to see what resources are available for you. And that's kind of a reminder and a tie-in to say, Legal Aid Society is here. Jennifer Prusak's law school housing clinic is available at Vanderbilt. And if you want to reach out to those resources, Legal Aid, you can reach out across Middle Tennessee by dialing into 1-800-238-1443. And you can also look at our website at www.las.org to see where we've got other resources to where you might be able to connect with an attorney who can represent you in court to make sure that your rights are defended if you think that you're being evicted for a reason that is not your fault.
Excellent. We'll take a break, come back. Mark, hold on the line. Others will take your call. Be back right after this.